Spotting green flags and avoiding narcissists. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I know a fair few things about spotting narcissists. After all, I'm a narcissistic psychopath, so I know precisely how my kind manifest, think and behave. But you don't have that necessary innate knowledge like I do. But the good news is, I've been sharing plenty of it with you over the last 10 years through my blog, through my books, and through my videos. You want to avoid narcissists. That makes sense. It may well be the case that you've had one or more entanglements with narcissists, particularly in your romantic life, and you understand the damage that it causes. You have been a victim, having experienced that damage and the significant impact upon you. But you haven't given up the possibility of finding a good romantic relationship. After all, that love-devotee trait, that empathic trait, is there for a reason. But you're cautious, and rightfully so. Once bitten, twice shy. You don't want to fall into the trap of being caught by a narcissist again. So how do you achieve that? How do you go about spotting the green flags that enable you to determine that this individual isn't going to give you the runaround in the way that the narcissist did, that this individual isn't going to abuse you in the way that the narcissist did, that this person isn't going to build you up only to crush you, to damage your self-worth, your self-esteem, cheat upon you, take your money, compare you unfavourably, and all the other things that can happen. It might be the case that having been involved with a narcissist in some shape or form, but having moved on, you also want to try and protect other people. Your empathic need to heal, to protect, means that you want to alert other people to how to identify those green flags, particularly in respect of, say, your children. As they start to mature and enter the world of boyfriends and girlfriends, you want to ensure that they don't have to suffer in the way that you did, that they actually have that knowledge. After all, as I repeatedly tell you, nobody knows about narcissism the first time that we come along. Nobody goes, aha, narcissist. Invariably, they only find out about it when it's too late, i.e., when they're in devaluation. But you might want to change that. You might want to cause it to be the case that there is a generation of people who now are aware of narcissism without having experienced it first. That you're aware of what a narcissist is because somebody around you has directed you to this video and my work. These are all, of course, laudable sentiments. How do you go about spotting the green flags? Well, what might you consider to be a green flag that would show that somebody is going to be an individual that will have a healthy relationship with you and won't abuse you? Presumably, you're looking for somebody that has emotional empathy because, after all, narcissists don't have any. Therefore, if you can find somebody that demonstrates that they've got emotional empathy, then surely that must mean that's a great big green flag flying there. But hang on a second. There's this thing called cognitive empathy, isn't there? Where narcissists are able to fake the appearance of empathy. They've learned the things to say, the things to do, the facial expressions to make, the actions to take, which give the appearance of caring. So it's not simply enough to think, oh, that person tells me that they care about me, or that they've come and supported me at an event. That must show that they've got emotional empathy. It might not be. It might simply be the manifestation of cognitive empathy shown during the golden period, and this is a narcissist. It makes it a little more difficult. Well, what about the fact that they love animals? After all, if you love animals, that must show that you've got emotional empathy, doesn't it? He has 2 dogs and he dotes over them. But the fact is that you may only ever see him doting over those dogs as part of a veneer. That when you're not there, those dogs get mistreated. Again, it's an artifice. Because in those early stages, you're unlikely to be spending all of your time with the narcissist, just possibly a lot of your time with the narcissist. And that means that the narcissist has that ability in the early stages to create that veneer, to function with a facade, which causes them to look like they're kind and caring and compassionate and genuinely love animals, that they're generous and patient and supportive, that they're tolerant and interested in you. What about somebody that has a similar worldview to you? You know that you're an empathic individual, and therefore, if they have a similar worldview to you, similar interests, similar observations, then presumably that must mean that they've got emotional empathy. But the narcissist mirrors the mockery of mimicry from the narcissist that is able, once again, as a consequence of the way that the narcissism functions, to look upon you and mirror your likes and dislikes, to take your observations about the world and regurgitate them in a similar fashion, to understand the way that you look upon a particular political act and agree with you. Again, this is the skill of the narcissist to pass unseen. It's harder than you think, isn't it, to spot these green flags? In actual fact, you shouldn't spend your time looking for green flags, because what might appear green will suddenly become red, and it's too late. You've been caught out. The fact is, if you spend your time looking for green flags, you're more likely to find yourself ensnared by a narcissist because you've not been focusing on what really matters, and that's the red flags. It's possible that you're likely to be able to avoid lesser narcissists because they don't function with cognitive empathy. They simply, through the application of a golden period, but more usually a bronze period, keep all of the unpleasant behaviours at bay. And therefore, because you might not see what you would consider to be green flags at all, even though you're not spotting red flags, you might avoid some of those lesser narcissists because essentially they're more obvious. But the problem is, if you're focusing on green flags, there's a high chance that you'll get caught out by those pesky mid-range narcissists that operate with the facade, that operate with cognitive empathy. It is far simpler not to look for the green flags, but to continue to focus upon the red flags. As I have explained through many years of successfully advising and guiding people who've been involved with narcissists, getting them out of their entanglement, securing a period of the reduction of their emotional thinking, and basically getting them match fit to enter the dating market again, I explain that it isn't about finding Mr. or Miss Right, it's about avoiding Mr. or Miss Wrong. By avoiding the narcissists, you will naturally then find the non-narcissists. You shouldn't be trying to find the non-narcissists, you should be ensuring that you avoid narcissists. And by default, that means you will end up with someone who is far more likely going to have a healthy relationship with you. You should not be spending your time trying to find the healthy people. You need to avoid the unhealthy people, because the unhealthy people are going to be drawn to you. Because chances are, as you're listening to this, you're most likely going to be an empathic individual, which means that narcissists are instinctively drawn to you. And therefore, it becomes necessary for you to avoid them by looking out for those red flags. I have set out in separate works a number of ways that you can avoid this. You can read my book, Red Flag, which sets out 50 instances of red flags that are exhibited during seduction. And the more that you find in relation to those red flags, the more you should run away. Black flags in relation to the behaviours of clear abuse, which you might not recognise, but you will after reading this book. You should also utilise the material that I've provided in the Knowledge Vault by way of narc repellent and early warning detector. You see, there are actual things that you can say and do that will cause the narcissist to be flushed out, so that if they seem to be sporting green flags, you see that they become red flags, that they are unable to keep that supposed green flag flying, and the material drops away to reveal the red flag underneath. Obtain those materials. They're chock full with assistance, but I'm going to give you one major thing now that you should apply that will help you avoid the narcissist. Take your time. When the narcissist comes along, the narcissist wants to ensnare you promptly, because that means then they don't have to expend as much effort and resources upon you whilst getting the maximum return on their ensnarement. By getting you under control promptly, the narcissist can gorge on your fuel, access those character traits and residual benefits. This means the narcissist invariably engages in things such as love bombing, which you will be familiar with. And the narcissist wants to achieve the control of you, your embedding into their fuel matrix, as quickly as possible. This means trying to spend a lot of time with you, bombarding you with text messages, ringing you up a lot, flattering you, many of the red flags that we've seen. When this happens, there's a huge risk for you, because all of these are interactions with the narcissist which will cause your emotional thinking to go surging upwards, and emotional thinking will then mean that you won't apply logic, so you basically get drunk and lose control of the situation. Furthermore, even if you're not afflicted by the addiction to the narcissist, that you're not an empath, you can still be drawn in by this heady brew of flattery and monopolization of time and the provision of great sex, etc., even as a normal. Because it's nice to be treated nicely. It feels good. And therefore, your dopamine receptors are fired up as a consequence of this treatment. So you want more of it, and you lose sight of who you're dealing with. And this blitzkrieg approach of the narcissist, of trying to get you under control quickly, means not only does it serve the narcissist's purposes, as naturally the case, but also it means you are highly susceptible to being ensnared, because this tsunami of supposed love and affection and kindness and fun and interest and charisma bowl you over, so you become like the proverbial rabbit in the headlights. It's fun, it's exciting, it's charming, it's wonderful. It gets you up in the morning, it keeps you hooked. It gives you something even to live for, particularly after you might have been tenderized by previous narcissists in the past. However, if you slow things down, if you take your time, you are more likely to keep your emotional thinking at a lower level, meaning you will use logic, you will find spotting red flags quicker, and most importantly of all, what you will do is you will force the narcissist into a situation whereby they're more likely to reveal the nasty side of their behavior because they're not getting what they want. And thus you'll suddenly find yourself subjected to a silent treatment, or an insult, or a horrible triangulation, which, because you're not fully subsumed at that stage, you're more likely to take notice of and think, hang on a second, I don't think I'm so keen on this person. No, I'm not going to continue this dating or this relationship. Most narcissists are able to keep those matters under wraps because of the speed at which they ensnare you. But if you take your time, not only are you giving yourself more breathing space, more thinking time, more opportunity to spot the red flags that I detail in my other work, but you're also going to test the narcissist. And the narcissist doesn't like to be tested because it is a threat to that innate need for control, with the consequence that they may well show their hand as a narcissist much sooner, before you're fully consumed by emotional thinking and the ensnarement, and thus it gives you opportunity to clamber through that window of evasion. Whilst it may feel tempting to go rushing headlong into this relationship, you should consider that the relationship is probably the most important investment that you will ever make. And watch my video of that name, the most important investment you will ever make, because this will also reinforce the necessity of taking your time. A healthy relationship arises, as I have learned, as a consequence of getting to know that person. You, as a consequence of potential insecurities and failures, lack of self-worth as a consequence of the abuses that you've experienced, often find yourself wanting to get the narcissist yourself nice and quickly because you think they're such a wonderful person, I don't want to lose them. You must resist that feeling. It's driven by emotional thinking. And if that person does lose interest in you because you're not going at the pace that they want, well, you may well have avoided a narcissist. And even if they're not, well, better safe than sorry. There are plenty of other people that you can have a healthy relationship with. It simply isn't worth taking the risk. Don't fall into the trap of worrying about not looking keen so that the other person loses interest. If they're a healthy individual, they will have plenty of other things going on in their lives so that they shouldn't be making you a number one priority at the early juncture. Remember, when you and that person come together, you probably both have jobs. You will have friends. You will have hobbies. You will have a home to run. You'll have family. You may already have had children with somebody else. And therefore, this new prospect probably ranks 8th or 9th in your list of priorities, and you 8th or 9th in their list of priorities if they're not a narcissist. Which means you go out on a date, you don't need to go out on another one for a couple of weeks, and both parties are relaxed about that. They don't think that that means a lack of interest. They're busy doing all of their other things, and they're not shunting them to one side all of a sudden to make room for you because they're a narcissist and they want to ensnare you. Anybody who has sudden availability of time so that they can spend hours on the telephone to you, texting you repeated times throughout the day, and keep popping around every evening, whilst it may feel exciting and wonderful to have that person's attention, the fact is, you should be asking yourself, how is it that they're able to make so much time for me at such an early juncture? Don't fall into the trap of thinking, well, it's because I'm special and they want me to, and they're recognizing that I'm special to them, so they're being lovely by making this time. No, it means they're likely neglecting something else by prioritizing you at too early in a stage, and therefore that is a significant red flag. Thus, utilize the many materials that I have created, and I've just given you one of the most fundamental checks that you can utilize, taking your time with the relationship, and understand. The key to avoiding the narcissist isn't to go around spotting the green flags, it's to ensure you know what the red flags are, that you have low emotional thinking so that you're able to spot them, and that way you will avoid the narcissists. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.